Welcome everybody to the June meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is an advisory council which supports the Contra Costa County Board of Supervisors, specifically providing input, community input for the El Sobrante part of the unincorporated area of the county. So I think we could start the meeting with a roll call.
Pledge roll call.
Why don't we just do the roll call since we started and we can do the pledge.
Thomas Lane,
Present.
George Cleveland,
I'm here.
Susan Boudreau,
Yeah.
Jim Herman, Dr. Melinda McLean,
I think excused absence.
Mickey Norris,
Here.
Tom Owens,
You heard anything? Not heard anything. I did hear from Melinda.
We don't.
okay. Shelley Rosenthal Winston, and Randy Lloyd.
Here.
All right.
So, really, you can lead us in the pledge as well.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Treasurer's report.
Yep. So standing at $2,091.
Okay, so we have have folks had a chance to look at the May agenda that was attached? Does anybody see any issues or minutes rather?
Move to approve.
Was Randy here?
Randy was here, yeah.
Because I didn't see his name on it.
I remember Randy.
Randy is here.
Can you,
Yeah.
Ronnie, could you amend the minutes to?
Yeah.
Move to approve the minutes of the May meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we'll start with our regularly scheduled presentations. And start on county update.
All right. And I'll just in front of the camera really quick. Hello, everyone. Good evening to all those that are online also. Zooming. All right, so starting with Clark Road Maintenance, Public Works has assessed necessary capital improvements to Clark Road at an estimated cost of between $350,000 and $550,000. And has sent these estimates to the East Bay Regional Parks District. The Park District has indicated openness to share these one-time costs and is evaluating them and will get back to the county. Once these improvements are done, the county is prepared to take on any ongoing road maintenance. And to the countywide noise ordinance. County planning continues the planning efforts to complete the municipal advisory council survey soliciting details on countywide noise issues and concerns. And outreach letters and surveys are scheduled to go out to the max by the end of this month, June. And Contra Costa Fire Protection District Report, a wildfire prevention and preparedness town hall was held at the Pinole Valley Fire Station on May 11th. And the town hall educated residents on how to prepare their properties for wildfire prevention and highlighted Measure X programs available to residents. And so vegetation fires have already started with incidents in Antioch and Brentwood, and residents are reminded to take action to reduce the threat of wildfire on their properties by removing dead vegetation, cleaning gutters or dry leaves and debris, and creating defensible space around the structure on their property. And more info can be researched at ccfpd.org for all those that don't want to write down that enormously long URL, into the update newsletter that's coming out on Friday. And the deadline to comply with fire district's weed abatement standard was June 3rd. And compliance inspections are now occurring. And finally, fire crews are actively working in West County on fire trail maintenance. And they are using heavy equipment 7 days a week to prepare and improve fire trails. And jumping down to the Maui property and potential park, Supervisor Joy, along with members of the Citizens for Greener El Sobrante, met with the owners of the Maui property on site to review opportunities for a new park. Supervisor Joy continues to be in discussion with property owners on this issue with the goal of having a portion of the property transferred to the county for a park. And finally, dumpster day, we held a free dumpster day for residents of unincorporated El Sobrante and Rolling Wood, and that was held on May 25th. The new location was a success, and we are very excited about the new partnership with the El Sobrante Christian School. Supervisor Joy's office continues to be in discussion with the city, with the school and the city of Richmond regarding coordinating future city county dumpster days in the future. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the council for Ronnie? Sue?
The dumpster day was quite under-attended compared to the one before. I wonder what was going on with that. Does anyone have any ideas how we can make it?
I don't know. I was in Portugal.
Say again?
He was basking in the, he was in Portugal.
Oh, that's why.
It's Memorial Day weekend, was it not?
I'm sorry?
That was the Memorial Day weekend, correct?
I believe so. But that's, yeah,
Yes.
that's the weekend before, yeah.
That's the big reason why I was, when was that? Oh, I was in Ball Rock, so.
Yeah, we do push it out to all of our networks, Supervisor Joy's Instagram, so you know, we can always push that out a little bit further before the event. I know I have been in communication with the city of Richmond on doing some city-county inclusive days, and so that will also help with getting the word out. So
I think something you should put in your publicity is something I sadly discovered, which is that if you can get one large item pickup per year from the public services. If you want more than that, it is $44 each. So if you say that and it's like dumpster day or $44 for your whatever, I mean, that makes it a much more attractive thing for people to do.
Yeah.
In the past, we've had just totally overflowing. It just varies enormously between different dates. It's hard to say why, but
Yeah.
we're definitely with that charge. It's ridiculous. It's
Yeah, we could use more notice. I think for community. And then Terry, you have a concern? Yeah, I'm concerned that's a.
Yeah. I just think that we should have more organized people there ahead of time that really know how to act the dumpster really well, because I felt like there was a lot of underutilized space that was expected in there as opposed to what Chris can do when you do dumpster day. So maybe think about that ahead of time, bringing a team that's willing to actually be the people that organize how it goes into the dumpster, because just throwing it in there doesn't really work. As a suggestion.
Chris, did you?
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce has put out a calendar and they do it on an annual basis, so they would appreciate if you could have a schedule of dumpster days that they could promote. And also, if I'm not anticipating every year in advance, of course, right now, but otherwise, you can give it to them, they can incorporate it into upcoming events. It usually takes a month or two to do it because there's a meeting which is done on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So the further in advance you can get it to the Chamber of Commerce, the better they can promote.
Further questions?
Anybody on the Zoom have any questions for Ronnie? Oh, there's one more in the room as well. I don't see anybody on the.
Please.
Sorry if I missed it, was there a timeline for the Park Road, reclamation?
Whatever.
no, we're still in discussion with the Parks District, so we don't really have any time.
Harry?
No, go ahead.
I heard a rumor that the cost of blocking off the street for the farmers market was
the county was charging $3,000 on the weekend for traffic control. Do you know anything about that?
I know a lot about that.
Yeah, not specifically, but I'm pretty sure that. I mean, I can always follow up with you.
We're required to hire a particular company and it's not 3,000, it's 2,700.
Sorry.
And they're negotiating right now to have planting justice staff do it, which would lower the cost. And we expect to be successful in that soon.
One suggestion from having suffered through all of that in multiple strolls, make sure that the folks are really well trained.
Well, that's the idea, and that's why the county required us to have this professional company do it and then train the PJ people. So, yes, that's true. But it won't be forever. It'll get better.
Good.
Thanks. Can I ask a question, please? And I apologize for being late. I got stuck on the phone call and then I just couldn't get here. There are cameras now on the entire damn road. If they want to.
Excellent question.
Are they,
Any newer projects?
oh, these are really nice cameras. Go look at them.
Yeah.
I'm just
No, we
curious
have
if-
some, but.
If they work and who's monitoring them for what purpose?
Yeah, I mean, I can always reach out to, Highway Patrol maybe to see if.
Well, it could be CHP because, you know,
Yeah, CSP probably not. And so they're either gonna be like Caltrans or Public Works cameras for traffic monitoring, if they're doing like an engineering survey, something like that. If it's an LPR or.
they're license
camera
plate
that-
readers, they're LPRs.
If they're license plate readers, they're not monitored because we don't have, nobody's.
Right, but I mean, you know what I mean.
Uh,
Who do they
so,
connect to?
They go, if it's ours, they go to a database. They just sit there on a server. And when we go to do a search, so if we get a suspect vehicle description and we get a partial license plate or a full license plate, we can put that in and it'll just pop up with that vehicle.
Well, maybe if by the next meeting, could we know for sure who they belong to?
Yeah, and it's on the damn road.
It's the whole damn road. As you leave, look at every single intersection.
Yeah, we wouldn't put them on every single
It-
intersection, so.
They're on
that-
every single intersection, great big wide cameras.
Those wouldn't be ours, because that is extremely costly.
That's why I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Who's watching us?
By the way, Belinda, Dr. Frank, that is Lieutenant Brian Holland, he's in the base station.
I guess by the fact I have his card in front of me.
There you go. We're just making the official introduction.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you, Lieutenant Holland, and they're probably not yours, but maybe on your way out of here, if you take a look at them, you might have a better guess than I do.
Yeah, it is.
As to who they might belong to.
Yeah, and if, again, if they're license plate readers, they're not being monitored, they're only.
No, I get that.
The database that is only.
Yeah.
Pulled.
No, I get it, only if you're looking for something, do you pull the video, but,
Yeah, and they're just stills, it's not even a video, it's just a still picture.
got it.
So we're not gonna
Any
get
other,
tickets?
any other,
No, and we don't do that, especially on the sheriff's office.
any other questions for, Ronnie?
Nope.
Okay, if there are no other questions from anywhere, I think we can move on. What I'm wondering if maybe the representative from Fire Protection District and Dr. Mercurio would mind if, since we have Lieutenant Holland right here, maybe you'd be best to segue into his presentation.
Yeah,
Is that okay with everybody?
and the thing is, you know, as part of John's report, he gave a Contra Costa County Fire update anyway, so.
Okay.
So that's, since Lieutenant Holland is here and we're meeting him the first time in person, cool.
All right, so Lieutenant Holland.
So for El Sobrante, for last month, there was a total of 542 calls for service, which netted a total of 50 reports being taken by the deputy. Most of the calls for service were some tows. There was some suspicious vehicle and person calls. There were 4 misdemeanor assaults. There was some warrant arrests and several theft cases. The select crimes for El Sobrante, which include, you know, your homicide, your felony assaults, felony thefts, things like that.
For May, there was a total of 10 of those, and they were one burglary commercial, one burglary that was miscellaneous, so that could be an outbuilding, a shed, something that's not part of a residence or attached. There was one residential burglary, there was one felony domestic violence, there was 2 stolen recovered vehicles, there was 2 misdemeanor domestic violence incidents, and 2 vandalisms. And it's
What do you call those, that, it's not big deal calls, what did you call those? The
Calls for
majors, what's the difference between calls for service and what you've just listed?
so out of the 542 calls for service, so the highlighted ones where there were multiples of were the tows, suspicious vehicles, misdemeanor assaults, warrant arrests, thefts. Then of the select crimes, there was select crimes. And those are the ones that get reported to FBI for stats, national stats. Yes.
So I know that it isn't a select crime, but it is a crime of interest in this room. You got any idea how many of those were for noise or disturbing the peace?
Noise complaint calls?
Yeah.
No, next meeting I can get that for you.
Because we've been trying to get a handle on some really noisy parties in our area. And we're trying to get some legislative help as well, but just having an idea how many people do call the sheriff. And could you confirm what we have been told before, which is, let's say it's my neighbor. And let's say it's a Friday night and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And the people who live across the creek from me are having their live band huge party that they do every once in a while. And it rattles my house. If I call you, do my neighbors have to know it's me?
Not, so this is the word is straight.
That's where we've been trying
The
to work.
ordinance
Yeah.
is not very streamlined.
Right.
And it's been a while since I've had to enforce it, but so to take enforcement action in the form of a ticket or report, like we're gonna write somebody, the citation. There does have to be a victim listed in the report.
Right.
Do I have to tell that person? Absolutely not.
But if they ask for the report, they're gonna see the name.
So that's where it
See,
can.
this is
if
part of our
they're-
problem, is we think people are not calling because they don't want that to happen. In fact, I don't call for that very reason. And so, okay, thank you, that's very helpful.
But if you call the first time, right, we have to go give a warning. We can't just write a ticket route. We have to
But you'll at least show up when you
Show up.
can, and turn it
turn
down.
it down. If we have to come back again, we're gonna write tickets. And in order for us to actually come back and write a ticket, yeah, we would have to have a victim listed. Because per the law, per the California Penal Code, we can't be victims of
Right,
noise.
understood.
Give them my name.
That's what we could do, we could all just report each other's other neighbors. I could be the designated reporter for Terra Hills, and Terra Hills could report Sherwood Forest.
Is that something that can be fixed in our noise ordinance once we?
That was the idea behind having a noise ordinance, is it might be decibels. You would not be the victim. Right? But if there were a decibel level and it surpassed that, you could write the ticket without having to have a victim.
Right, and then add into the legislation
Right.
funding for decibel readers and training, because I can tell you right now, if that ordinance passed, well, we don't have decibel readers. That wouldn't hold up. Right, that's not gonna be a hold up in court, just like, if I shoot you with radar for speed, I have to go testify in front of the judge that this is a highly calibrated machine that worked before and after. It's not like from a phone, right?
Right, I understand, but decibel readers are actually not rocket science.
I know.
Well,
But if you want the sheriff's office to have the funding to purchase,
Yeah.
you know, there's 200 of us in patrol division, so if we're all gonna have decibel readers, that's when it gets tough. And then we have to be trained on it in order to go in front of the judge and do the ticket, right? Now, I was trained on this device, I know how to operate it, we know it's something as simple as that.
What I love is I just learned that the decibel reading that applies to my commercial property is sort of meaningless.
Well, we have no way to tell you how many
Yeah,
decibels it is, and we don't have readers.
Right,
But-
that's what I'm
But
saying.
if you roll that into the ordinance, at least some kind of funding for the local
Got it.
jurisdiction to
Mhm.
get them.
Good points, Melinda, thank
Thanks,
you.
I'll stop.
Are there any further questions for Lieutenant Holland, either from online or here in the audience?
Thank you.
So Ronnie, I think our take home is we need the noise ordinance forthwith.
Yes, and also a point to note, it's not going to be specific to El Sobrante.
Right.
It has to be, you know,
But as
encompassing.
long as it's something we can apply within El
Yeah.
Sobrante, we are happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's other jurisdictions, other states that have it where, hey, if it's above this decibel rating, it's a ticket.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, there's other policies and laws.
There's cities in the county that have that.
Lieutenant, thank you for
And
coming to our meeting, welcome, and see you at the future meetings, and
See you next month. and-
yes, with that noise roll, that little subset of stats for noise reports.
Yeah, we'll bring that.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
All right, I'm gonna take George's suggestion that we fold the fire protection update into the county presentation, since we already discussed fire protection in that. So I think we can move to county health, Dr. McWhirter.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I was asked to give a brief just update on the avian flu, and I imagine you guys are hearing things about on the news, and I thought it'd be helpful to just do a general background, and then just to answer any questions. So it's H5N1. It's the avian flu, and we actually have been seeing it in the United States and worldwide in mostly birds, like poultry, wild birds since 2022, globally and within the United States and California as well. There has been some wild mammals that they've detected it in, and then a few domestic mammals, but that's been pretty rare, and it's mostly been birds and poultry. And in California, I think it's exclusively been birds and poultry. The most recently, and the things that you have been hearing about has been the transmission in cows, which is new since 2024. And so they've seen in dairy cows this outbreak of avian flu, and they've noted transmission to humans. The human transmission has been not human to human, but from cows, so dairy farm workers who were infected to, and there's been 3 cases of that. So 2 in Texas and 2 in Michigan, 1 in Texas. No cases of in California. The transmission is human, and there's been no human to human transmission throughout. There's been scattered sporadic transmission from like dead animals or sick poultry globally. And in the United States, there's been 1 poultry transmission in like 2022 in Colorado. In all cases human cases in the United States have been very mild. It's thought there'd be generally a low risk to the public, but they're monitoring it closely, as you know, flu can really can mutate, to see if it can spread more easily, to see if there's any changes. In California, there's a response in the United States and monitoring cows, monitoring dairy, and seeing if there's any concerns from exposures to there. They have noted that they are testing positive in dairy products, and so it might be more widespread within cows than we know, but presumed if it's a pasteurized milk, then there's no real concerns because it's dead pieces, essentially it's killing the infection. Raw milk can be a different concern, and they're doing some surveillance on some raw milk in California, and milk in general across the United States and California. No cows have tested positive in California to date, but they're doing some monitoring. There was recently like a poultry market that did have a positive on random surveillance, H5N1. They monitored all people who might have had exposures to that, and no one got sick or infected, and there was no concerns after that exposure, but they are doing random poultry testing since the incidents, since the start of kind of the poultry exposures. In preparation, kind of in case there's concerns, they're working on, or there's changes in transmission, or it's easily transmissible, or see more human cases. They are working on a flu vaccine for specific for H5N1, not to be a standard vaccine, but to be released if there's concerns or emergency, and they're figuring out what that criteria is. There'll still be the normal flu vaccine that we get every year. This shouldn't disrupt that, and it just doesn't have, H5N1, so they want to make sure they're prepared in case there is need. If people do become a case, the Tamiflu does work well for it, and they have been treating individuals and or theoretically work well, and they've been treating individuals who've been a case with Tamiflu. They've all been mild cases in the United States, but they have been treated and isolating. The most important thing for like the general public, because it's been, if there's a sick animal or a dead animal, to kind of use protective PPE if you're kind of handling them, which includes gloves and if it concerns a mask. And then kind of, or if you can't avoid dead animals or animals that are sick, but I know people have backyard walks and stuff like that, so if you're, and then if there's any concerns that you might have been sick or exposed, of course, monitoring, and if you any symptoms, always can go to the your doctor to kind of review if there's concerns, and there is some testing capability in the county if there's human concerns, but we haven't had any exposures or monitoring from, like I said, no cows. I think maybe in 2022 we might have had a few cases in like wild birds that they found, and maybe some exposures from that, but no one has ever been sick from avian flu in our county or at this time, or California. I think I'll stop there, but I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presentation, Dr. McCoria. I guess one reason I asked for a county update on this is because I read a news story that, significant levels of virus were detected in San Francisco wastewater.
Mm.
And so it just made me think, what does this really mean for us? And it sounds from your presentation that it's something that we need to be aware of, and there are things happening behind the scenes, but it's nowhere.
Yeah. And there was, that's a good point. There was a one-time increase in the San Francisco wastewater. The poultry market was in San Francisco, and so they think that was likely the case. They monitored everyone. They thought low risk to the people who went there, and they monitored everyone who kind of handled or killed the birds, generally speaking, or the one who tested positive.
Just want to say, this is not related. I appreciate your background, doctor. I appreciate that a lot.
Of course.
So,
Thanks.
right. Thank you for that. I think that's what that is. I can't tell. Sure, looks.
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate that. So,
Of course.
Thank you, Dr. McCoria. Are there
I
any?
see a hand.
Okay, it looks like you have some.
This is airborne transmission, is that right? Is
Say
it
that one more time.
transmitted by droplets, by?
Yeah. Droplets. It's like the flu, same way the flu is transmitted by droplets. Yeah.
And how far off is it in terms of mutations for this to become human to human?
I don't think they found any new changes in mutations since they've been monitoring it. And it hasn't been easily transmissible, as we've seen low incidence of from human to human. it is the first time I've ever seen it in cows, and likely what's causing a lot of the outbreak in cows is, I learned a lot about how dairy farms work, is they move cows from farm to farm, and so cows are being moved. They stopped that process, and they're not allowing cows to be moved. They have to be tested. There's all these new procedures in place.
Is it extremely serious when people get it? I didn't pick that up.
So most people in California who've gotten it have very, very mild infections. The sporadic cases worldwide, some have been severe. No one has died from it, but all have recovered. And so they've had slightly more severe, the worldwide cases, but nothing in the United States. They've been very mild, like very, very mild.
So this is not a flu of 1918.
No, but we're monitoring closely because it is a new one that we're seeing in humans. Yeah. So if there's changes or updates, and lessons learned from COVID, try to prepare better in case. And the state activated like a hub essentially to really move the state planning process in case too. So the state's actively working.
Great. And if you do have symptoms, I guess we
Yeah, you would wear a mask if you have a known exposure. That they essentially, since it's new, do ask you to isolate, even though we've seen no human-to-human transmission. If you have symptoms, you would wear a mask. If you think you might have been exposed, so if, like handling animals or dead animals or something, you could follow up with like your doctor in a review and potentially get testing specific for H5N5. There is, wastewater monitoring, and it's not specific for H5N5, but if you see increases in influenza A, it could be at a weird time, like now, it's pretty low, and there could be a sign that maybe we need to test or be more cognizant or test humans to see if there's concerns there. And I don't know if you guys know about flu surveillance goes through during flu season, but it's been extended just for this reason, to monitor if there's any concerns or increases in influenza A particularly, and there hasn't been.
Has this had a pretty significant ecological effect on, I noticed that there's very many fewer quail, and has it affected local birds?
It has affected, I haven't heard of any positives in local birds recently. And so the last positive was a while ago, over a year, if not more. It does test dead birds for things if they're found, just to make sure. But I don't know if it's had any changes in terms of the wildlife that we see. I imagine there's other factors as well. Yeah.
Linda, and then Nick.
Well, Melinda,
I do have a question. This actually isn't about bird flu, because when I saw you here, I thought maybe it was because I've been asking for the last several months for somebody from county health to come talk about the need for additional urgent care in West County. And you may not be able to speak to that because I know you're here to talk about bird flu, but I would love to hear if you have any information about how we can increase capacity for urgent care in West County.
That's I can't really speak to that, but that is a good question. I know there's concerns in general about accessing care throughout the county, particularly in West County. And I know that there's, Lifelong, La Clinica, there's different places that do have some urgent care, but in terms of increasing access, and we have our healthcare system as well with,
well, given that we've only really got the one hospital, Kaiser, and they are.
Oh yeah.
It's a critical issue, and I'm just curious and hope that, the county is, I get it, it's not your job, but ask other people when you go back because you like the question.
I do. I think they're always thinking about how to improve. Once doctors close, that was the understanding that the access is really going to decrease for emergent things. I don't know if, the other community clinics or even our clinics we have been trying to add more access. Nighttime access can be always hard, and COVID really transitioned how our access looked at different clinics. I know Lifelong does have urgent cares, but they're not 24 hours, and they close at a certain time. And so I will bring it back though and say,
yeah, it doesn't take much time. Hang out at Kaiser Richmond for a few minutes.
Yeah. I used to work there. It's very.
You'll know pretty quickly that they have more happening there than they have. We could need more capacity somewhere. So thank you.
Yeah.
thank you, Mickey.
I
As long as we have you here, I thought maybe we could get a quick update how we're doing on the COVID situation.
Yeah.
And also, I read in the East Bay Times that the current variant that's out there is not all that responsive to the vaccine, the current vaccine. Is that true? I mean, is it still worth getting the vaccine or wait fall when the new one comes out?
Yeah, so COVID right now is it's lower than it has been. It is kind of like a lull. We're starting to see slight upticks, so it might suggest it's we've always seen like a summer uptick, so it just might be an earlier summer uptick, but more to come and see. The vaccine, every variant that we've seen as they kind of transform might make the vaccine slightly less effective, but in saying that it's still effective in decreasing severe infections and deaths. And so if you haven't gotten this booster, I would, particularly as we might be entering a surge, would always recommend getting the COVID update. I don't know, honestly, what the recommendations will be in the fall. I'm guessing, I'm imagining that they'll kind of start doing a yearly update like flu, but I haven't really heard anything. And it's not like they've stated that outright, that this is the plan, but I imagine there will be an update to ensure that they capture the newest variant to make sure it's the most effective it can be.
Further questions from online or here in the library?
Don't see any online, don't see any here, so.
Thank you, Dr. McCoria. We
Of
really
course.
appreciate your making
Thanks.
time to keep us informed.
Happy to. Thanks for having me.
Okay, California Highway Patrol, do we have?
No.
So by way of update, I did have a sort of a welcome phone call with, Officer Daniel Gilmore. And, kind of rehashed what we talked about in the May meeting and, kind of the situation we're dealing with on San Pablo Dam Road and other roads like Appian Way. That's just really dangerous for people who live on those roads. And he said he would try and make it here today, but they're pretty undermanned, and so I guess he was unable to make it. But no pun intended, we're definitely on their radar.
But are they on the other end of the cameras? Could we stand at the camera and go?
Anyone there?
So in that case, we can move on to our wonderful El Sobrante Library.
Ryan's gonna pull up my presentation here. So greetings, council members and officers, greetings, community members. I'm Tom Schwing, I'm the community library manager here at the El Sobrante Library. I want to thank Ronnie Mills and Supervisor Joyer for this opportunity to share with you what's going on at the library, both countywide and here in El Sobrante. All right, let's start off with our first slide, please. Next slide. All right, so let's talk about countywide circulation. As you can see, countywide circulation increased from fiscal year 21-22 to fiscal year 22-23 by 15%. These numbers include all types of library items, including electronic materials like ebooks and e-audiobooks. A couple of asides, you might be asking or looking at those numbers and saying, hey, that looks a little old. The numbers that I'm showing you today are the two most recent full fiscal year numbers to give you a year-to-year comparison. Of course, we're still in fiscal year 23-24. Those numbers will be available to us closer to the fall. You may also be thinking, well, back in 21-22, we were closer to the pandemic, closer to the spike of COVID that began in 2019. And it's true that the pandemic hit our checkouts and our library visits. But the good news is that our circulation numbers are steadily increasing, and during this period by more than 15%. So in a nutshell, we're not back to where we were prior to the pandemic, but we're certainly headed in the right direction. All right, for comparison, the last full year before the pandemic, which was 2018-2019, our circulation was at 7.23 million. So we're about 500,000 items away from there presently. All right, next slide, please. All right, let's talk about ebook checkouts. So that number also grew over the same period of time at an even higher rate of 22%. Overall, ebook checkouts are growing at a higher rate than traditional library materials. But both numbers are growing, and you should know that traditional library material checkouts are still outpacing ebooks and e-materials by a ratio of more than 2.5 to 1.
But I'm working it.
All right, so that said, the appetite for ebooks during the pandemic exploded. And the pandemic really fueled the rise in popularity of ebook checkouts. So since that time, the library has been putting significant additional funding toward e-materials. Next slide, please. All right, on the topic of library visits, with Banana the albino Burmese python that visited our library last summer. As you can see, library visits also grew. In-person visits grew by 38%, and virtual visits grew by 21%. By virtual visits, we mean we're referring to visits to our library's website, ccclib.org, to use library services and digital resources. And I'm going to talk a little bit about digital resources later on in this presentation. Also, an aside about this slide, 21-22 was complicated. It was a complicated year for library visits because, as you may recall, we were certainly still in the pandemic, and we had limited in-person services as we were still emerging from that. During a portion of that year, we were only open for grab-and-go services. So right after the pandemic, remember, was shelter in place. And then the library reopened for just front door services, like stay out there. And then it was grab-and-go service, come in but go, you know. And we didn't open for in-person services until the summer, or in-person programs until the summer of 2022. So in-person visits were down because it was not business as usual during 21-22. But the good news is we have rebounded since then by more than 38%. And for comparison, if you're interested, the last full year before the pandemic, you have to go back to 2018, 2019 for that. Our in-person visits were at 3.54 million. So that's about 500,000 or, again, we're not back to where we were prior to the pandemic, but certainly headed in the right direction. All right, more than that. Next slide, please. I thought you might be interested for me to talk about some of the most popular books countywide. By the way, I ran this report just last week, and it shows a snapshot in time from last week going back over the last 12 months. No surprise that Pete the Cat and Dogman series continue to dominate the early reader and children's fiction formats. I'm going to share a bit more about what El Sobrante is reading later on in our presentation. All right, next slide, please. So if you haven't heard, this is our rolling reader. Last November, the library introduced the rolling reader, our version of the traditional library bookmobile. It's a brand new all-electric early literacy outreach van. The rolling reader provides early literacy outreach services to young children 0 to 5 in vulnerable communities where library staff present story times, hand out free books, provide activities focused on early literacy and fine motor skills development, and science, technology, engineering, and math STEM learning. You may be asking, what do I mean by vulnerable communities? That's just another way of saying underserved and low-income communities. And even though Contra Costa County Library has 26 branches, this is a very large county, and many residents still are not able to easily access library services because they live far away or they can't make it into the branch during library open hours. They don't have access to reliable transportation. So the point is for us to take early literacy library services to places where those services are not available to patrons. All right, next slide, please. This is my favorite slide. As I mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about digital resources. These are our newest 3 digital resources that you get for free with your library card, available via our website at ccclib.org. So in case you don't know, your library card provides you with access to numerous valuable digital resources. How do you find those resources? Go to ccclib.org. Up at the top, you will see digital resources. Click on the drop down. You'll see A to Z resources. I highly suggest you read that list of resources that are available for free. And I'll tell you a little bit about some of them, then I'm going to tell you about these 3. So you get access to hundreds of digital magazines and digital newspapers, including some of the most popular newspapers in the country, with no paywalls on articles. Yes, I'm gonna say that again.
No paywall.
Digital newspapers, including some of the most popular in the country with no paywalls on articles. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, San Francisco Chronicle, East Bay Times, and the Washington Post coming soon, very soon, Washington Post.
So you do get the LA Times.
I don't know about the LA Times, but I'll find out.
Clearly a Giants fan.
Well, it's just they're the most notorious for paywall. And the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
You get Scientific American and New Scientist.
I will report back, yeah. All right.
I will look it up.
So do you have to have an account to log in to see this? You create a.
Yeah,
create a
it's all you
library.
need is a library card. You get your library card and you go to ccclibrary.org. You click on, you click on the digital newspapers link and the instructions are right there. And there's even a video to help.
My last library card's about 15 years old.
Oh.
So, okay. So you need a library
Yeah,
card.
this is disgusting, Tom, library card.
We do purge library cards after a number of years for non-use, so you just gotta do one. The whole process takes about 5 minutes.
All right.
But you need your mother's signature.
And there's.
Now, you could get a
Yeah.
copy one.
Maybe have 5 big signs.
I mean, they're not the same old library card I had as a child. They're sweet.
You'll see a link for digital newspapers that you can click on.
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so our digital resources also include ancestry tools, if you're interested in that. Yeah,
Yeah, I do that.
Ancestry's Library Edition and Heritage Quest. Online encyclopedias, California's driver's education support, vehicle maintenance repair through Chilton Online, school research tools for students, standardized test preparation, online tutoring, readers advisory, streaming entertainment through resources like Canopy and Hoopla, who I'm gonna talk about Hoopla in just a sec. And language learning through Rosetta Stone, which is also free with your library. Yeah,
Wow, look at all,
Rosetta Stone is free with your library.
look at all these local newspapers you can read back to the 19th century online. Honest to gosh.
Yeah, dig around, dig around. I mean,
Antioch Ledger, the
that's
Virus and
my favorite.
Times, the Contra Costa Courier. Cool.
Yeah, the digital resources are super cool.
I haven't looked nearly.
So
at that.
what's new and exciting for 24? O'Reilly gives library card holders access to a vast collection of videos and ebooks and resources about business and software and IT and professional development. That's O'Reilly. Hoopla, we just got. I can tell you that Hoopla is very popular in libraries these days. So our staff was super excited to get it. This resource has streaming popular movies, streaming popular TV shows, music albums, ebooks, e-audiobooks, comics, magazines. There's no holds, there's no wait lists, and card holders get 4 items per month. You get 4 downloads free per month with your library card with Hoopla. And Hoopla is a little different than the one that we've had for a while. Canopy, we still have Canopy. Canopy allows you to download streaming like independent films and documentaries, where Hoopla is popular movies. Yeah. You get TV movies for 3 days, music for 7 days, ebooks, e-audiobooks, and comics for 21 days, and magazines for 7 days. All right, so last but not least, all access comics. You'll see it says Overdrive there. Overdrive is now Libby. Libby is the tool we use to loan e-materials to our card holders. If you have a library card and you consume ebooks or e-audiobooks, you're familiar with Libby because that's the app that you go to your app store to find on your phone and you download that app. So with your library card, you have access to all access digital comics now. In other words, this resource provides library card holders unlimited checkouts of a vast collection of online comic books.
Wow.
And all these resources are funded with the library budget.
Wow.
What a deal.
And,
Free.
so with my Libby,
Yeah.
I can connect all my 4 library cards that I have so that I can get the books that I want immediately. Does that happen with the Hoopla? Like, can you, if I have a Berkeley library card or a San Francisco?
You know, I don't know. We just got, I can dig into that and find out for you. I don't know.
Okay.
And they all work on cable.
Oh, yeah. And there's videos, if you've got, iPad, whatever you use, we have videos that show you how to get that set up.
Or you can call your
We
friend
can show
Melinda,
you.
who's really good at it. Voracious reader.
All right, next slide, please. So now, lunch library. Okay, so we're excited. Like the El Sobrante Library distributed 3 meals to students 18 and under. This is a very rewarding program for us to provide food to hungry students. And we also provide youth development programs along with it. Actually, we start tomorrow for our first summer program is tomorrow because kids just got out of school last week. So here at El Sobrante, we partner with West Contra Costa Unified School District to provide free lunches to students over the summer and free after-school meals during the school year. So it's all year round that we're getting free meals.
Is it every day or?
Here, it's just Thursdays and Fridays. Our neighboring branch, the San Pablo Library, they have it Monday through Friday.
And when was it gonna come from?
West Contra Costa Unified School District prepares the lunches, and they're good, and they're nutritional. Yeah, it's a good point. These meals are delivered to this meeting room, and that's the reason why we have this very loud industrial refrigerator. Lunch and Library is a project of the California State Library, and it's supported by funds from the state of California. All right, so next slide, please. Now we get to talk about El Sobrante. So excited. I pulled fiscal year-to-date circulation statistics just last week. So these statistics include up to April of this year and compare to the same period last year, back to back. So as you can see, El Sobrante's circulation is up by 21% from this same period last year. So that's July through April of this year to July through April of last year. That's over 11,000 items. For comparison, in the last full year before the pandemic and before the fire, we got to go back before the fire to find, to compare another full fiscal year or fiscal year to date. Our monthly circulation was at 63,800. So as you can see, we've passed where we were before the fire.
That's good.
I think that's a lot to do with, this is a really nice library.
Yeah.
It really is. All right, next slide, please. Thanks, Ronnie. All right, most popular books in El Sobrante. I thought you might be interested to see some of the most current, most popular books and hear about them year to date here in this community. So adults in this community are reading best-selling authors like Stephen King, James Patterson, and Celeste Ng. For adult nonfiction, which is the top book is not pictured here, but I wanted to share that this community actually checks out a lot of cookbooks. Like the Elder Scrolls official cookbook is number 3.
What?
The Elder Scrolls official cookbook.
That's funny.
Tahini and turmeric is number 14. It's giving you a smattering here. Cook's all-time best brunch is number 22. And
Is that the one with the scratch and sniff?
the essential vegetarian, the essential vegetarian keto cookbook is number 47. All right, another popular category in nonfiction among adults here in El Sobrante is nature and travel books. Like Point Reyes, The Complete Guide is number 2. 150 nature hotspots in California. I want that book. That's number 10. Epic Hikes of the Americas is number 13. And Donald Baston's El Sobrante is number 34. Okay, something to know. So then now we're going to move on to YA books. So among the top 50 YA books in El Sobrante year to date, many graphic novels, super popular with young people today. Like Sailor Moon is number 4, Heartstopper Volume 1 is number 5, Allegiance number 13, and One Punch Man is number 14, and many more. So this speaks to how relatable graphic novels are to young people today. Our team has greatly expanded these collections in the last 6 months. I can say our librarians have been ordering them and they're flying off the shelf like hotcakes. As soon as they get here, they go out the door. Graphic novels today are about self-improvement by and large, and how characters start at the bottom and work their way up, and young people really relate to them. All right. Last and final slide, El Sobrante Library's programs. We've got monthly programs for all ages here. tomorrow, as I mentioned, we have growing edible plants from seed at 11 a.m. Kids will make plant pots to take home, and following that, they can pick up lunch in the library. Fridays this summer, I'm excited about our slate of programs. We're starting with beginners chess. It's our summer of chess at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. After that, kids can get lunch in the library. It's 8 to 18, and then followed by the Lego Builders Clubs, ages 6 to 18. And for the younger ones, we have Duplos, and that's at 2 o'clock. I'm happy to announce that our library was selected as a 2024 tour stop in West County for the library's annual exploration station. So what that is every year the library goes around to the different parts across the county. In West County, we were selected this year to be the host of the exploration station. We're gonna have on this date, on Thursday, June 20th, from 11 to 1, from the parking lot, all back here, all through the library, we're gonna have at least 20 vendors, all focused on teaching kids about science. So we're gonna have a Lindsay Wildlife experience. It's no longer the Lindsay Wildlife Museum, it's the Lindsay Wildlife Experience. The Berry Discovery Museum, got the Mount Diablo Astronomical Society.
Wow.
Mount Diablo Beekeepers Association. There's gonna be birds and bees in here. We've got Contra Costa Animal Services, and many more. Plus the Friends Book House is gonna be open, and the El Sobrante Historical Society is gonna be open, inviting folks in to check that out. So that's happening on June 20th. It's gonna be a huge event, and we're happy to be hosting it.
It does
And
say
then, as you
monthly
can see, our
programs.
rancho history,
Can I ask the monthly programs for all ages? It does say all ages, but that's only for children?
Yeah, so we have lots of programs for adults too. This one, our Rancho History with Roxy Mirabel, that's an adult program. Come and pick up our monthly programming newsletter, and you can see the programs that are available for adults and teens and kids.
Okay,
and
I did get the
littles.
newsletter, but I didn't see, I saw the chess and that the chess was up through 18.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, chess in particular, that was funded by our teen budget,
Mhm.
but we expanded it out to include younger kids. Also, coming up in July, this is kind of a coup, we got the San Francisco Opera. The opera is bringing 2 of their interactive sing-a-story educational programs to the El Sobrante community. Based on the Magic Flute and Hansel and Gretel operas, with a magic bag full of costumes for the kids. So that's my presentation. Thank you for listening today. If you want to get in touch, Ryan's going to show my number and contact information right there. How can you help the library? Get a library card, renew your library card.
Okay, how many people have a library? Okay, Tom.
I guess I need to.
You need a library.
educate myself about the- And subscribing to things.
You can get stuff from the library and put it on your note.
Yeah.
You can totally put it on your note.
Okay, does anybody in the room have any questions for Mr. Green? Anybody online, wanting to kind of close the stop screen sharing, as I tried to say,
Anne Marie asks, what ancestry tool is available?
So there's 2. One is called Heritage Quest, and one is the library edition of Ancestry.com.
And I noticed, Amber, just because I was screwing around looking at these things, you can only use them in the library, those 2 things.
I have to double check on that, yeah.
Well, that's what it said on the website.
There you go.
I'm gonna go to the website.
well,
But the periodicals are awesome, and that's something that you can't often get on Ancestry Great Access, and so the periodicals can be really useful.
And I really appreciate what you're doing for kids in terms of the meals. That's so important.
And I'd like to point out, because I come into the library quite often, that there's very often some lovely program, and there's always little children there with their grandmas, with their mums, with their dads, on a very regular basis. So this is a really happening place. There's a lot going on here, and that has really changed since Tom has taken over managing the library.
Thanks so much. So come pick up a programming newsletter and you can support us by coming out to our programs and getting your library card. Thanks.
Before we, thank you so much. Before we move on to the next item, I thought it would be nice to recognize the service that Sue Boudreau has given our council and our community. This is her last meeting. And, you know, just speaking for myself, I have so appreciated your contributions to our discussions and your questions and your copious note taking. And honestly, thank you so much for your service. We're really gonna miss you.
Excellent. Based on Melinda's reaction, I think she's gonna try and like attach herself to you so you can't leave. I could be wrong, but yes, your service here and in the community is greatly appreciated because you really care about what goes on around here. You want to make sure that everybody's up to date and you know what's going on and that they can find the appropriate resources they need to. So we will miss you and we know why you're leaving and you know, actually that's the greater thing, that the reason that you are leaving is a wonderful thing. So we will miss you and we thank you very much for all the work you've done for us.
It has been such a pleasure to serve. I've really enjoyed it. And I'd like to get kind of figure out how local government works and hopefully take some of that to where I'm going to next. So thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, can we take a picture of all of us with Sue?
About that.
Yeah.
All right.
3 seconds discussion.
So, yeah, so this is for an administrative application for reestablishing PJ's Restaurant, and the project is being undertaken by Lorna Padilla Marcus and her family, and they are going to reestablish PJ's and preserve some of their traditional menu while expanding the offerings. And it's all internal improvements. And I'd like to move we approve this.
Second. Any discussion on the motion to approve this?
Desperately need a good place to eat in Sobrante.
There you go. All right, all those in favor of supporting the motion to approve it, say aye.
Aye.
And okay, it passes
Unanimous.
unanimous. There we go, that was easy. Next.
So do we have any idea when they anticipate opening up again?
No, I understand.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And as we know, construction.
Well, yeah. And if you wanted to, contact her on the application. it's-
Yeah, I saw that.
Email, so. All right, so moving on.
So, information reports from MAC members, I'll just contribute one piece of information. I may have talked about it last time, but I belong to the Area Mission on Aging, which is an advisory council that supports the Area Agency on Aging. And one of the things I do is provide just very simple layman's presentations on osteoporosis. So hopefully we're working with Bruce to give one at Lake Ridge. And I've been in touch with him. And, if any of you through churches or other organizations that you belong to, would like the presentation, takes about 40 minutes. It's all ready. And all I need is a projector with a HDMI.
When we're open, we'll book you.
It's free of charge. Okay. Any other MAC members have a item they want to report on? If not, we can move to subcommittee reports, which would be our wonderful beautification.
Well, I think we ought to, George and I should just briefly report that the El Sobrante Pride will be on September 22nd, which is a Sunday, 12 to 5. Mark your calendars now.
Cheese Park, yes, I know it's opposite the farmer's market.
It's quite possible to go to both, you know.
It's
because-
possible to go to both, but it does mean that we can't borrow any equipment. So there's that. Anyway, point being, September 22nd, El Sobrante Pride, and there's a very cute flyer flying around the internet.
Yes, and another thing about that is if, from what we were told by Nicole Don from the El Sobrante Chamber of Commerce, is that if you have a booth at the stroll, which is on Sunday, September 15th, you are entitled to a booth at the El Sobrante Pride that for no charge. Wait, so that, you know, so that is a good thing, so. We hope that you can attend. It's the first time that El Sobrante has done this, and it's long overdue, and yeah.
Is it being led by the chamber, or they sponsoring?
They're sponsored by the chamber, and there's also been a call to have other entities sponsor. We
Well,
might-
technically, my church is the fiscal sponsor.
Yes.
So there are other sponsors, and I think if your organization wants to become a sponsor, we can tell you who to talk to.
Yes.
There's an application to become a sponsor, and it's not a huge amount of money.
It's
And we would love lots of sponsors.
like West County wastewater, for example. No, we're reaching out to other entities, other public agencies, the one that I retired from, the East Bay Bud, and asked Bart if they'll do it because my friend was on the Bart board and asked him to talk to their folks. And just a lot of local things, and so we're looking forward to, we actually, from a perspective of how to run it, we had our blueprint or template, if you will, this past Sunday, because we had a booth at Knoll's Pride and Juneteenth celebration. So now we have an idea too, so.
Anyway, if you see the flyer wandering around, there is an email on there, email that email. And if you want to become a sponsor, and I don't think it's terribly expensive.
No,
And Clayton and Michael are very helpful.
yes.
So, question here, because you were saying about the, if you have a stroll booth that you can take it and do it at the Chief Park, well, Chief Park in Richmond was flyer that, I thought you were saying, I know it's in Richmond. But-
We know it's-
Like I said, but is there does that affect anything in terms of any permits or anything like that, paperwork?
You do have to get a permit to use the park.
But you use county permit, rather?
No. No, the point is, that if you have a bulk, if you have a booth at the El Sobrante Stroll through the Chamber of Commerce, you can have one at El Sobrante Pride. That has nothing to do with the arrangements with government agencies.
Yeah, so I think, then you need extra stuff, or do you?
No, we're fine, it's taken care of.
No, we're getting the permit, and we'll have, they don't care who the booths are.
Exactly,
Unless you were gonna do food, and we're gonna do food trucks instead.
yes.
Because that is, as we know from the farmer's market, a total pain in the wazoo to have real food.
But we-
That's not a food truck.
you know, we will have, there will be food there, the trucks,
There'll be great food there.
yes.
No difference, since dogs are allowed, if it's real food, in the food trucks, you can have dogs there.
That's another thing. And given that we want to have a dog show, that's really important.
So I guess now we can turn it over.
We're done now.
To, for the subcommittee report.
Great. Yeah, so we had a wonderful presentation last month by Susie on the local environment and its global impacts, and we got about 24 people in this room. That was a really nice turnout. We would have had possibly a bigger turnout online had we had the correct Zoom link, which put a little damper on it because we couldn't communicate with people. We didn't know it was the incorrect one until we got here. But anyway, it was a beautiful presentation, and that slide deck is still available, and Ronnie has a link to the YouTube, and I was wondering if we could put that on our page online, the link to the YouTube, and also the slide deck on the subcommittee page on the on the website of the map?
We can. I also sent it out in our newsletter, so it's there also.
But it'd be nice if we can get it. Yeah, thank you
Mhm.
for putting it out there for people
And there's,
who still wanted to see it.
there was a move by Heather from the shed, who's like, hello Heather, I'm so sorry. You were thinking to do something to take it forward a bit, which is great.
Yeah, gather people that are interested in, yeah, do things, I thought you as well,
Yeah.
yeah, or just whatever, you know, trying to get people together that are.
That's exciting. Maybe we can have another presentation there with some of the people, you know, and the woman from.
Are you talking about, Rose?
Yeah.
And the library is also going to be doing a follow-up book with our, East Bay Parks ecologist, who's also one of our neighbors, also on the Firewise board, called Rose Samuelson. So if you want to know more about what is actually happening with the quail populations, with the rodent killing, with all kinds of things to do with our local wildlife, that would be something to do.
Yeah. So anyway, that was very exciting. when we had that. And, you know, it was so interesting. Anyway, our next third Saturday cleanup is this Saturday, 10 to 12, meeting here at the library parking lot. We have the equipment and we'll send you out to an area. And we can always use the input of the community if they found an area that needs some of the attention, to let us know so we can attack it and get it cleaned up. So, and thank you also for moving the Pride Day, because it was in conflict with the Coastal Cleanup Day, which is September 21st, that we will be teaming up once again, I believe, with Spawners and SOS Richmond to do our part as part of that national, actually it's a global effort, Coastal Cleanup Day, September 21st, and I assume we'll also have a presence at the stroll and as well, and the parade. So there's that already coming up, but we'll have to start planning for that next month. But I think that's all I have to say about this one. Nothing super exciting. Get out.
Thank you for your work on this meeting, as always. It's much appreciated.
So I think we can move to the items.
I would think for one meeting, based upon what Melinda was asking Dr. McCurry, how it's pronounced, is that at
Mercuria.
I was close. Is that we have tried to get an update on the status of urgent care, especially in West County. So maybe at the next MAC meeting, maybe Ronnie could, and John could reach out to the county and see if they'll have them give us a presentation.
I'm gonna put it on the minutes every month until somebody comes.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So let's see.
Sort of like noise, we're just gonna keep saying it.
If we can get somebody to speak to that, that seems like a major issue.
It is, it really is, because, you know,
People are dying.
well, that, and it's no joke about Kaiser, because I've been down there recently a few times, because that's mobility things going on that I'm dealing with. It just seems like a madhouse. It's like, and, you know, when I was a patient in the ER some months ago, it was madhouse. So, because there's no other place to go, in like the middle of the night, when you're sick. So it needs help with that. So we need to find out what the county's gonna do, because as Melinda said, people, it's not exaggerated, people are dying because they don't get the care that they need at the time, in the appropriate time frame, and that is very sad.
And then I really would, you know, I think it's just with the county, the regularly scheduled presentations, we need to keep the pressure up on the noise ordinance. And just, I know it takes a while for the meetings, the informational meetings to take place and be organized.
Mhm.
But we just need to keep the pressure up because this needs to happen. And then I think the other thing, we just need to keep the pressure up on Clark Road. So that needs to be a regular update as well. And then I'm trying to think of what was the third thing,
CHP.
the CHP, there you go.
Yeah, I did reach out to Sergeant Pruitt last week and we spoke over the phone. He stated that he was going to attend, but as you know, there is a shortage of CHP officers for the area, but he did confirm that he was gonna be here.
8 months, and we love Sergeant Pruitt because he was here when I was on the back the first go around, and he came back, and he's wonderful. He's, but we need to see him.
But is he stationed in Bay Station? I mean, the guy we had last month wasn't stationed in Bay
Well,
Station.
yeah, that was the thing, as you recall, last meeting, we had a CHP, but it was the wrong CHP.
Yeah.
So we just, just let it know, and just all I have to do is say San Pablo Dam Road.
Yeah, he knows and he's aware. Again, it's a shortage of
But I get no shortage
officers.
of emails about that. People are really concerned,
Mhm.
I think with very, very good reason.
Yeah.
And it's just a question for John, because I think we're just gonna ask everybody until we find out who the cameras belong to.
Yes.
Whose cameras
Are
are they on the damn road?
Yeah.
They've been in for quite some time too,
Yeah, we would like to know about
Yeah.
that.
a few months, and I'm just very curious.
And they don't say anything on them.
No, they say
No.
nothing on them, but they are very fancy. They're license plate reader cameras, they're LPRs.
So I guess, any more agenda items?
Chris,
Yeah, well, I had mentioned this another time, I would be interested if we could hear from some fraternal organizations in town about what their activities are and how they would relate to the community and how we could interface with them better, like the Elks, the
The booths and the Masons.
Yeah, right, and what their plans are and how, because I think they're an important component of our community that we don't really have.
so I'll write Jim Cowan, who's on the chamber board, and he's a big Elks guy.
Well, a member of my church is the treasurer of the Richmond Masonic Lodge.
Okay, so there are ways to reach out. We can
They
ask
have
them-
nothing to do with each other, that's the thing.
we can ask them to
Yeah.
make a presentation if they're so inclined.
So I'll write, let me just start, I'll write Jim and see if he's interested.
That's the way to start.
All right,
I guess I think we have public comment.
yeah, public
The
comment,
Masons don't tend
I
to publicly
have-
say anything.
I
and
have,
the handshake.
I
Um,
have public comment, but it's in my role as a private citizen, not as a member of this board.
Go ahead.
Okay, two things. I'll start. Anybody else here have ever had any issues with garbage pickup from Republic, Richmond Sand? Okay, good, I'm not one. A very interesting thing though, if you moan and groan enough and you invoke the name of the county supervisor, suddenly they come down to and they'll fix the problem. They weren't picking up my trash, all of my stuff, my next door neighbors. We live at the end of a cul-de-sac and there's no room. And they just didn't pick it up. And it was very frustrating because, when they did pick it up, they would put my canisters at the house 2 doors down. Go figure. But when they didn't pick up, they didn't say why. They didn't leave a door hanger. They didn't put anything, stickers on the canisters. They didn't leave a door hanger. They didn't maybe, when I was home, knock on the door and say, hey, we're gonna pick up your trash now, but here's where you really need to put it. They just didn't pick it up. And they supposedly talked to supervisor, the manager, and then when I called and I said, we'll talk about this at this meeting, and when I referred to Supervisor Joy, and then magically 10 minutes later, a public affairs person called me. That's the one thing. So if they don't pick up, moan and groan and complain, well, not like that, but be polite, and tell them that you're gonna bring the concerns potentially to supervisor's office. And also, if they don't pick it up, see if they'll give you a credit, because they gave me a credit for research, which I did not ask for. They just provided, the representative I spoke with, the customer service reps, they're wonderful. It's the other part of it that's gonna be questionable. That's the one thing. The second thing is I tried to contact code enforcement by phone and by email form about 725 Santa Maria. That is a house that's boarded up and I think has been vacant as long as I've lived in the neighborhood, which is 20 years. Driving by recently, there's a big old RV that's parked on the backside of the property. And they've got some stuff blocked up behind said RV, and it makes me think that there are squatters on that property. It's vacant because the house is boarded up. So I would hope that code enforcement would take a look at that, because maybe try to contact who owns the property to settle that, because I'm gonna say the owner probably is not aware that they've got potential trespassers. Maybe, or they might be the owners, I don't know, but it doesn't look right. But no response from code enforcement either.
Okay. When was your last outreach to them?
Oh, that was like about. I gave up because I just gave up. I think it was about a month ago.
Okay, and that was just one outreach?
Two on the phone, but they don't respond to the phone, and one with the form that they said, oh, we'll get back to you within 2 weeks, and no response.
Okay,
And I checked, make sure to check the spam folders on my email,
Mhm.
make sure it didn't go there, nothing.
okay.
So that's all.
All right. Are there any, public comment in the room?
Terry has one.
Actually, it's a hive mind. The east corner of, Valley View and Sunset, where I live, is vacant lot of about 2 acres, and it is scary weedy. It belongs to a family, I don't know their names. I have to make a complaint every year to get somebody to have this family come and make this. 4th of July is coming. I've got no response from anybody that seems like anybody's coming. And, there's lots of lots where they cleared the space like right around the edges, but then there's weeds up to here. And even driving up my street, you can't even see another car coming down, the weeds are so high. So I don't really know what to do with that, because, again, 4th of July is coming up. There's more than just that hill, but that's my concern if I live there.
That's a code enforcement thing too. So it's code enforcement. So, well, I think we will refer this to supervisor's office, because they weren't responsive to me with just talking about this vacant property, and your concern is more, I think, even more valid, because it's a real safety hazard when you have weeds this high, because especially on a large parcel where you've got, as you said, when it's July 4th, and of course, we know around here, people get started on their fireworks long before July 4th.
Yeah.
That somebody is going to have a homemade firework that they bought somewhere where they shouldn't have bought it, and it's gonna go off and set up sparks and land on this property and create a massive fire that's going to be problematic, because we had all the rains and then we don't all the dry, and it's gonna create a giant brush fire.
So I think that this comes
There's
under,
actually a form, you don't call code enforcement.
I used the form and there was no response.
Exterior hazard complaint form for the Contra Costa County Wildfire Mitigation Project.
So I did that online, and I've got many.
Exactly. So
That's not code enforcement though.
Well,
That's the
I-
fire department.
I went to the fire department, not the, directly to the fire department.
Yeah.
And I've done it twice. And this is the 3rd or 4th year that I've had to make it an issue to get this lot taken care of before it burns down.
yeah, Ronnie, it looks like there's just to consolidate all of this. There's a major issue with responsiveness of code enforcement, and then an issue with responsiveness to. the
Well,
flow of
this is
the-
Wildfire Mitigation Project. This is not code enforcement.
Right, I'm just saying, I was just gonna continue that with respect to fire. I think it's run by the fire department, right?
Contra Costa County Fire Department.
Right, so.
yes, Chris.
Yeah, one other thing, some time ago, Nikki and I were speaking to Supervisor DeJoy about the idea of having some kind of interesting welcome to El Sobrante signage. It wouldn't necessarily just be a flat sign. It could be something more like, he was talking about a stone, or, we had talked about the idea of like a lit up sign. That doesn't seem like it's got any attraction, but nonetheless, and then maybe with some messaging on it about keep it clean or don't litter or something like that. Anyway, I just think it would be nice to explore a little bit more about what kind of options there might be for getting that kind of signage on Denham Road.
You mean other than the one that has all the fraternal organizations on it, that's on Dam Road?
Yeah, we talking about something else, a bit more artsy sort of thing, not just that.
Okay.
These done like that.
We haven't heard, anybody heard anything about, no, okay, bye.
Well, any other public comment? Any
It seemed to
hands?
be a possible thing for, to launch a schools competition for designing it. That's something that would be fun to do.
Any public comment from the folks online? There's 2 people. No, okay.
So I think we can.
All right, I
go in the meeting.
think we can go then, we're done.
Kristen,
And I guess we'll take that Picture again? Yes, no?
Okay, good picture, yeah.
Yeah.
I could be around the clock showing you end of the road today, I mean.
Wow.
And I think it's probably like.
That's all that's historic.
Right, right.